Hi, this is Jackie's Reading Room, and I'm your host, Jackie P. Have you turned some pages today? The four hobbits stepped over the white stone threshold and stood still, blinking. They were in a long, low room filled with the light of lamps swinging from the beams of the roof, and on the table of dark polished wood stood many candles, tall and yellow, burning brightly. In a chair, at the far side of the room facing the outer door, sat a woman. Her long yellow hair rippled down her shoulders. Her gown was green, green as young reeds, shot with silver like beads of dew, and her belt was of gold, shaped like a chain of flag lilies, set with the pale blue eyes of forget-me-nots. About her feet, in white vessels of green and brown earthenware, white water lilies were floating, so that she seemed to be enthroned in the mist of a pool. "Enter, good guests," she said, and as she spoke they knew that it was her clear voice that they had heard singing. They came a few timid steps further into the room, and began to bow low, feeling strangely surprised and awkward, like folk that, knocking at a cottage door to beg for a drink of water, have been answered by a fair young elf queen clad in living flowers. But before they could say anything, she sprang lightly up and over the lily bowls, and ran laughing towards them. And as she ran, her gown rustled softly, like the wind in the flowering borders of a river. Did you recognize the excerpt? It is from the J.R.R. Tolkien novel, The Fellowship of the Rings, published of the Ring, sorry, no S, published in 1954, the first of a three-part series entitled, as you may know, The Lord of the Rings, which you may have seen on screen, perhaps read as well. The series is one of the best-selling fantasy novels of all time, with 150 million copies sold, behind only the Harry Potter series, who actually gathered 500 million copies sold. Imagine that. That's a lot of books around the world. So, is it safe to say that the fantasy genre is alive and well? Absolutely. In 2021, and I quote, fantasy book sales grew by 45.3% compared to 2020. In the UK, sales of fantasy books were up 48.8% compared to the same period in 2020. And this is from wordsrated.com. I'll put the link, of course, in the blurb. So you may wonder, what's the craze? I believe fantasy is a great way to escape. And in the last few years, we have definitely needed to escape the real world, don't you think? I believe many of you would agree with that, right? Escaping in a book, uh, as far as I'm concerned, there's no better way to escape. You can escape in time and place, through made up characters or through real people's stories. I think we all need that from time to time, but perhaps even more so these days. So if we consult our friend Wikipedia, hey, there are some good stuff on there. We learned that, and I quote, fantasy is a genre of speculative fiction involving magical elements, typically set in a fictional universe and sometimes inspired by mythology and folklore. Its roots are in oral traditions, which then became fantasy literature and drama. From the 20th century, it has expanded further into various media, including film, television, graphic novels, manga, animations, and video games. End quote. Um, if you've gone to a bookstore lately, or if you haven't, you're going to be surprised that there's a wide range of fantasy novels, graphic novels, manga, etc. out there in the rows. I was just the other day at my local bookstore. I do go there quite often, and I always look at the books on display. You know, they display the like maybe the newest titles, and many of the books actually that you'll find for teenagers are fantasy novels, and it's not surprising because we love to be transported into another world. Well, some people cannot take it, but I know that I've enjoyed reading and watching fantasy, I believe, my whole life. Yeah, I remember like when I was a kid, any story with dragons or vampires or etc. I can handle that. I can also handle some science fiction. And I'm going to admit something to you. I find that the covers of the fantasy novels are so appealing. If you want to find out more about book covers, I did talk about that in episode 27. Should you judge a book by its cover? I talked about the beautiful, amazing, wonderful novel, The Night Circus, in episode 20. And The Night Circus is one of those books that has a beautiful black cover with some red, and these are the colors of the circus. So I believe it's fair to say that I picked up that book because of the cover, quite likely, the title, the colors. I'm sure there's perhaps something psychological in there that just attracted me. And then, of course, I ended up loving the story. One book I want to read soon is called Book of Night by Holly Black. You may recognize her from her young adult title, The Cruel Prince, which I believe might have been a like a book talk book. And I have to describe the cover to you. It's black. So I have the hardcover here. It's all black, and then the title is on the top in big golden, kind of shiny golden letters, and then the double O of book is kind of intertwined like two rings. And then at the bottom of the page, you have the author's name, and in the middle, it almost feels like there's like a ripped piece of the page, and then you see some kind of a symbol with a moon and a sun and with stars. See right there, I'm telling you this. I have the book right here, and I just want to pick it up and start reading. So it's just beautiful. A fantasy author I also discovered not that long ago is V.E. Schwab. Her full name is Victoria Elizabeth Schwab. She is an American writer from California. You may know her by her novel, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, very popular. And that novel was nominated for the 2020 Locus Award for Best Fantasy Novel. Now, I have to read that one, clearly. One of my colleagues actually told me that it was one of the best books she read. I personally read her books Vicious from 2013 and Vengeful 2018, which are part of the Villains series. She has quite a few series there. And I would like to get into her Shades of Magic series, the first one being A Darker Shade of Magic, and that came out in 2015. And since I talked about book covers, this one is white, so completely different from the one I talked about before. But you've got kind of two circles, one red, one black, and the circles are like almost like how can I describe it? It's like they took a little sample of a map, like an old map of a city, and then you've got this character on top with like a red cape. So once again, right there, it really makes me want to pick up this book and read it. And I can see that even inside for each chapter or part, you have like a kind of a nice page with like some kind of a map and then the title of that part. So visually, fantasy novels are very appealing, I find. And I find that the stories, although obviously many of them are about good versus evil and so on, but you also have a very wide range of characters in fantasy, which I love. Strong women as well. I'm going to give you another example in Shelley Parker Chan's novel She Who Became the Sun, also on my TBR pile. And this book's cover is orange, beautiful, kind of a warm, color with like this big, huge sun, right? Orange, darker orange sun, and then the title takes almost the whole page. And at the bottom, you have like a black strip that sort of represents a hill, and then you have these warriors on horseback. So listen, if that didn't make you want to read fantasy, perhaps you have someone in your life who would be interested in getting into fantasy. It might be a way to get people reading. If you were, young when Harry Potter came out, maybe that's the book that made you want to start reading. That actually happened. So why not go out there and take a look at those beautiful fantasy books and turn some pages and get people around you to do the same thing. So hope you enjoyed today. I'm Jackie P, and I will see you next week. Take care.